You hear a name like Blixmain, New Laureates, or Dewa de Van den Bosch, and something stirs in your chest. This must be a champion, you think. This bloodline has won national races, filled trophy cases, made legends of ordinary fanciers. So you buy a young bird from that line, pay a price that makes your hands shake, and bring it home with hope in your heart. But weeks pass, races come and go. The bird flies, but not like the stories said it would. It returns late, it hesitates at the trap. It lacks that fire you saw in the videos, the photos, the dreams, and you wonder, was it the bird, or was it me? The truth is, a famous bloodline is not a promise, it is a conversation. And if you don't know how to listen, you'll miss what it's really saying. Bloodlines are not magic, they are memory. They are the accumulated experience of generations, of birds that flew through storms, found home in fog, and passed on not just genes but grit. But memory alone is not enough. It must be matched with the right environment, the right care, and the right selection. And that begins not with the sire, but with the dam. Leo Heremans, one of Belgium's most respected fanciers, built his entire loft on this principle. I don't buy a bird for its father, he says, I buy it for its mother's line. Why? Because the hen carries the homing instinct, the quiet, unshakable knowledge of how to find home through chaos. She passes this not just in DNA, but in the way she raises her squabs. The calmness of her loft, the consistency of her care, the confidence she models every day. A strong male may give speed, but a strong female gives direction. And without direction, speed is just noise. So when you evaluate a bloodline, look beyond the trophies. Ask 3 questions. Questions that separate legacy from luck. First, has this bloodline won at least 3 national races? Not local club events, but true tests of 300, 400, even 500 kilometers. 1 win can be luck. 3 wins is a pattern. Second, has it succeeded in multiple lofts, under different fanciers, in different regions? A bloodline that only works in one perfect setup is fragile. It's not the bird, it's the system. But a bloodline that wins in Turkey, Belgium, and the US has true resilience. Third, is the female line documented, celebrated, and proven? Look at the daughters. Do they race? Do they win? Do they produce winners of their own? In the Heremans loft, the most valuable birds are not the sons of champions, but the daughters of hens that never raced, but whose offspring dominated for decades. This is the secret. The future is built through mothers. But bloodlines alone are not enough. They are the soil, not the seed. A bird from a weak bloodline can surprise you. A bird from a strong one can disappoint, because bloodlines set the ceiling, but behavior reveals the floor. And the floor is where racing happens. You can have the greatest bloodline in the world, but if the bird hesitates at the trap, panics in the basket, or ignores feed after a race, it will never reach its potential. So never buy a bird based on pedigree alone. Race it first, watch it, test it, let it prove itself in your loft, under your sky, in your races. Louis van der Velde once said, I've seen birds from unknown lofts outfly famous names, because their fancier believed in them, trained them right, and chose them with eyes open, not ears full of stories. And that is the real art of selection, not chasing names but seeing the bird in front of you. Now the mistakes. The first is buying expensive birds without testing them. A price tag is not a guarantee, it's a risk. Always ask for a trial period. Race the bird in short tosses. See how it recovers. See how it navigates. See if it wants to come home. The second mistake is ignoring the female line. Too many fanciers focus on the sire, the flashy winner, and forget the dam, the quiet builder. But the dam is the foundation. Her genes influence navigation, stress tolerance, and even feather quality. Choose a bird with a strong mother, and you choose a legacy. The third mistake is believing that bloodlines replace care. A champion bloodline in a poorly managed loft will underperform. A modest bloodline in a well-run loft will exceed expectations. Bloodlines are potential, care is realization. At Pigeon Healthy, we honor this balance. We don't just rely on genetics, we support them with nature. After you bring a new bird home, we use a gentle infusion of thyme and nettle to strengthen its immune system, improve feather growth, and calm its nervous system so its true potential can emerge. Thyme is rich in antioxidants that protect cells from stress. Nettle is packed with iron, calcium, and silica, minerals that build strong bones and glossy feathers. And both are completely natural, safe for all pigeon breeds, and used for generations in European lofts. If you'd like our exact recipe, including ratios, steeping time, and feeding schedule, comment bloodline below, and I'll send you our free Champion Bloodline Starter Guide. Because the bird you choose today isn't just a racer, it's the beginning of your story, and it deserves to be chosen, not with hope, but with knowledge, patience, and respect. So the next time you hear a famous name, don't just listen to the legend, ask the questions, look at the dam, test the bird, and remember, the greatest bloodlines aren't written in pedigrees, they're written in the sky by birds that choose to come home again and again. You look into a pigeon's eyes and you search for a sign, a spark, a depth, a color that promises speed, endurance, or heart. You've heard the stories: red eyes for sprinters, pearl eyes for long-distance flyers, dark rings for courage. You've seen fanciers hold birds up to the light, squinting like they're reading a map in the iris, and you wonder, is this real, or is it just folklore dressed up as science? The truth is, eye sign is neither magic nor myth. It is a clue, one piece of a much larger puzzle, and if you know how to read it, it can guide you. But if you rely on it alone, it will mislead you. The first thing to understand is this: a champion's eye is not defined by color. It is defined by life. Look for brightness, not just surface shine, but a deep alert glow that says, I am here, I am aware. The iris should be rich in tone: orange, red, copper, pearl, but more importantly, it should be clear. Sharp lines should radiate from the pupil like sunbeams, not blur into haze. Avoid eyes that are dull, cloudy, or pale. These are not signs of weakness in bloodline. They are signs of stress, poor recovery, or illness. A bird that raced hard and wasn't given proper rest will have tired eyes, no matter its pedigree. But never judge by eyes alone. A bird with perfect eyes but slow trap response won't win races. Eyes are a window into the nervous system, not the wings. So what should you look for? Start with the pupil. In bright light, it should be small and round. In dim light, it should open wide but evenly. An irregular pupil can indicate neurological stress or injury. Next, the iris texture. Run your eyes over it. Does it look layered, detailed, alive, or flat, smooth, empty? Champions often have what fanciers call busy eyes. Irises with complex patterns, subtle shifts in color, a sense of depth that draws you in. But again, this means nothing if the bird doesn't act like a champion. Watch how it uses its eyes. Does it scan the sky when it flies? Does it notice your approach from across the loft? Does it track a passing bird with focus? These are signs of a sharp, racing mind. Louis van der Velde says, I don't care if the eye is red or pearl, I care if it's awake. And that wakefulness, that constant awareness, is what carries a bird home through fog, wind, and exhaustion. Now the myths. No, red eyes do not guarantee speed. Some of the fastest sprinters have pearl eyes. No, a dark ring around the iris is not a mark of courage. It's often just pigment variation. And no, you cannot predict a bird's future by its eye alone. Eye sign is not a crystal ball. It is a signal. And signals must be confirmed by behavior. Gaston, a national champion from the Netherlands, keeps a simple rule. If the eye is bright but the bird hesitates at the trap, I trust the behavior, not the eye. Because hesitation is not shyness, it is doubt. And doubt cannot be raced away. So when you look into a pigeon's eyes, don't just see color, see curiosity, see confidence, see the will to return, and then test it. Toss it 10 kilometers. Watch how it comes back. Does it dive into the trap, or does it circle? Unsure. The eye may promise, but the flight delivers. Now the mistakes. The first is obsessing over eye color while ignoring overall health. A bird with a perfect red eye but loose droppings or fluffed feathers is not a champion, it's a patient. The second mistake is using eye sign to justify emotional decisions. You fall in love with a bird's eyes, ignore its slow returns, and keep racing it out of hope. Hope is not a strategy. Observation is. The third mistake is not comparing eyes over time. A bird's eyes change with condition. After a hard race, they may look dull. After proper recovery, they shine again. Track this. It's a measure of resilience. At Pigeon Healthy, we support eye and nerve health with natural care. We use a gentle infusion of chamomile and eyebright, two herbs known for centuries to soothe the nervous system and support visual clarity. Chamomile reduces stress-induced inflammation. Eyebright, as the name suggests, has been used since medieval times to strengthen eye health in birds and humans alike. Steep 1 teaspoon of the blend in 1 liter of hot water for 10 minutes. Cool completely. Add to drinking water for 2 to 3 days after a race or during molting. It's safe for all pigeon breeds, chemical-free, and used in lofts across Europe. If you'd like our exact recipe, including where to source eyebright and how to store it, comment Bloodline below and I'll send you our free champion selection guide, which includes an eye reference chart with photos of real champion eyes. Because the bird you choose isn't just a racer, it's a partner. And partners deserve to be seen, not just for their eyes, but for their heart, their wings, and their will to come home. So the next time you hold a bird and look into its eyes, ask not what color is this, but what is this bird telling me? And then listen, not with your ears, but with your experience, your patience, and your respect for the ancient bond between fancier and pigeon. You hold the bird gently in your hands, and you open its wing. This is where racing lives. Not in the bloodline, not in the eyes, but in the air, with every beat of this living machine. The wing is not just a limb, it is a sail, a rudder, a shock absorber, and a compass all in one. And if you know how to read it, it will tell you everything you need to know about the bird's potential. But most fanciers stop at the surface. They look for shine, for length, for symmetry, And while these matter, they are not the whole story. The real test is in the details. The texture, the strength, the flexibility, the silence of a perfect feather. Start with the flight feathers, the primaries and secondaries that do the work of flight. They should be smooth, dense, and unbroken. Run your finger along the shaft from base to tip. It should feel strong, not brittle. A weak shaft cracks in crosswinds. A strong one bends and recovers, like a fine bow. Now look at the vane, the flat part of the feather. It should lie flat against its neighbors, with no gaps, no twists, no fraying at the edges. Gaps create drag. Drag creates fatigue. Fatigue creates lost birds. Hold the wing up to the light. You should see no pinholes, no thin spots, no translucent patches. These are signs of poor nutrition, incomplete molting, or disease. A champion's feathers are apoplexy, silk to the touch, strong to the pull, and glossy in the sun. But strength alone is not enough. Flexibility is equally important. Gently bend the wing tip downward. It should give slightly about 15 to 20 degrees, but snap back instantly when released. Too stiff and the wing cannot absorb turbulence. Too soft and it lacks the power to cut through headwinds. The ideal wing has what fanciers call elastic memory. It bends under pressure but returns to perfect form without delay. Now test the overlap. The primary feathers should lie flat against each other, like shingles on a roof. When the wing is closed, no light should pass between them. When it's open, the tips should form a smooth, continuous curve, not a jagged line. This is what creates lift, reduces noise, and allows for silent, efficient flight. Gaston Van de Wouwer, one of Belgium's most legendary fanciers, says, "I can tell a bird's future by its feathers. If they're tired, the bird is tired." He doesn't mean dirty or dusty. He means structurally weak, brittle, split, or dull. These are signs that the bird has been over-raced, underfed, or poorly recovered. A bird with strong feathers has been cared for, and a bird that has been cared for will care enough to come home. But the wing tells another story, the story of balance. A racing pigeon is not built for beauty, it is built for function. The wings should be proportional to the body, long enough for endurance but not so long that they create drag. The body should be compact, muscular, and streamlined. When you hold the bird, it should feel dense, not light or hollow. This is muscle, not fat. Then the keel, the breastbone, should be straight, strong, and well-muscled. Run your finger along it. It should feel like the keel of a racing yacht, smooth, firm, and perfectly aligned. Now the mistakes. The first is judging wings only when closed. A bird can look perfect at rest but reveal gaps and twists in flight. Always open the wing fully. The second mistake is ignoring the coverts, the small feathers that cover the base of the flight feathers. If these are worn, missing, or ruffled, it means the bird is stressed, overcrowded, or molting poorly. The third mistake is not comparing wings over time. After a hard race, feathers may look dull. After proper recovery, they shine again. Track this, it's a measure of resilience. At Pigeon Healthy, we support feather and wing health with natural care. We use a blend of flaxseed, nettle, and horsetail. 3 herbs rich in omega-3 fatty acids, silica, and calcium that build strong, flexible, and glossy feathers. Flaxseed reduces inflammation in the follicles. Nettle boosts iron and protein absorption. Horsetail, one of nature's richest sources of silica, strengthens the keratin structure of every feather. Steep 1 teaspoon of the blend in 1 liter of hot water for 10 minutes. Cool completely. Add to drinking water 2 to 3 times a week during molting or racing season. It's safe for all pigeon breeds, chemical-free, and used in champion lofts across Europe. If you'd like our exact recipe, including where to source horsetail and how to store the blend, comment Bloodline below and I'll send you our free champion selection guide, which includes a wing inspection checklist and feather health calendar. Because the bird you choose isn't just a racer, it's a partner. And partners deserve wings that carry them home through storms, not just fair skies. So the next time you hold a bird and open its wing, don't just look, feel, test, respect. Because these are not just feathers, they are the sails that carry your legacy across the sky. And it is your duty to choose not with hope, but with knowledge, patience, and the quiet understanding that true champions are not born, they are revealed, one perfect feather at a time. You watch your bird land on the roof after a race. It's tired, yes, but its eyes are bright. It doesn't hesitate, it doesn't look around, it dives straight into the trap like it's been waiting all day to come home. And in that moment, you know this one has it. Not just speed, not just bloodline, not just perfect wings, but heart. And heart is the one thing you cannot breed, cannot buy, and cannot fake. It is earned in the sky through wind, rain, distance, and doubt. And it is revealed not in victory, but in return. Behavior is the final test of a racing pigeon. Bloodlines set the potential. Eyes show the mind. Wings provide the power. But behavior reveals the spirit. And the spirit is what carries a bird home when everything else says to give up. So what should you look for? Start with trap response. A champion doesn't land and think. It lands and acts. Within 10 seconds of touching the roof, it should be inside the loft, drinking, eating, resting. Hesitation is not shyness. It is uncertainty. And uncertainty has no place in a racing pigeon. Watch for the birds that circle the roof. The ones that land but don't enter immediately. The ones that approach the entrance and pull back. These are not just tired birds. These are uncertain minds. And an uncertain mind gets lost at 500 kilometers. Some fanciers say, my bird is shy, but fast. No, your bird is hesitant, and that will cost you one day. You cannot win without speed, but you cannot come home without confidence. The great champions of Belgium have a saying, the trap doesn't lie. You can hide poor health with supplements. You can mask weak genetics with training, but you cannot teach a bird to want to come home. Either it does or it doesn't. And the trap tells you the truth within seconds. Next, observe loft behavior. Does the bird stay alert, even at rest? Does it notice your approach from across the loft? Does it preen with pride, not just habit? A champion is never fully off duty. It is always aware, always ready. Watch the perch. Some birds perch high to see everything. Some hide in corners, disappearing into shadow. Some sit in the middle, right in the heart of the flock. These are not just preferences, they are signals of character. The bird on the highest perch may not be the leader, but it will never be a follower. The bird in the corner may survive, but it will panic when challenged. The bird in the middle reads the flock, adapts, waits, and strikes when the moment is right. Notice the bird that preens near the water, the one that bathes even when others don't, the one that keeps its feathers immaculate, not out of vanity but out of discipline. This is not obsession, this is self-respect. And self-respect in a pigeon translates to performance in the sky. Now watch how it eats after a race. Louis van der Velde says, I don't care how fast it flew. I care how it eats when it gets home. A bird that eats calmly, with focus, has a strong mind. A bird that ignores feed or eats frantically is stressed, and stress kills performance. The eating pattern reveals more than hunger. It reveals mental state. A calm eater processes the race, recovers naturally, and prepares for the next challenge. A stressed eater relives the trauma, burns energy and anxiety, and breaks down over time. Mark Rossens, a legend from Antwerp, tells a story. I had two brothers from the same nest. Both flew the same speed. Both had perfect health, but one ate like a gentleman after every race. The other pecked nervously, never finishing his meal. After 10 races, the calm eater was still winning. The nervous one was retired. Same blood, different mind. The mind matters, and the mind reveals itself in the smallest actions. How a bird eats, how it drinks, how it rests. But the true test is consistency. Jos Toon, a national champion from the Netherlands, focuses on young birds. The first 3 races tell me everything. Not the wins, but the consistency. A bird that returns within 15 minutes of the leader, race after race, is worth more than a one-time winner. One great race can be luck. 3 consistent races is character. And character is what builds legacies. Think about it, a bird wins once by 20 minutes. But the next 2 races, it's 2 hours late. What does that tell you? It tells you the first race was luck. Good wind, good day, good timing, but no heart. Now consider the bird that comes in 10th, 8th, and 12th. Never winning but never failing. Always there, always close, always reliable. This is the bird you breed from. This is the bird you trust. Because reliability over time is rarer than speed. Consistency is the quiet virtue that separates good lofts from great ones. Flashy winners fill your trophy case. Consistent performers fill your breeding loft. And it's the breeding loft that determines your future, not the trophy case. Then there's the rain test. Gaston Van de Wouwer has one rule he never breaks. If a bird comes home from a rainy race, I never sell it. Rain reveals heart, and heart can't be bred, it's earned. Rain strips away everything, speed, looks, bloodline, and leaves only will. A bird that flies through rain, lands wet and exhausted, and still dives into the trap, has something no pedigree can guarantee. It has the will to come home. I've seen birds land in storms, feathers plastered to their bodies, wings heavy with water, eyes squinting against the wind, and still they don't pause. They hit the roof and disappear into the trap like their life depends on it. Because in that moment, it does. And I've seen birds from million-dollar bloodlines land on a sunny day, dry and comfortable, and sit on the roof for 5 minutes, preening, looking around, deciding. These birds don't last. Because racing is not about deciding, it's about knowing. Rain is the great equalizer. It doesn't care about your genetics, your training program, or your reputation. It asks one question, do you want to come home? And the birds that answer yes in a storm are the birds that answer yes every single time. But behavior is not just about racing, it's about how the bird lives every day. Does it get along with others, or is it constantly fighting? Does it recover quickly, or does it sit quietly for days? Does it fly free laps around the loft with joy, or does it stay on the perch withdrawn? These are not quirks, they are signals. And the fancier who listens builds not just a team, but a family. Watch the bird that flies for fun. Not because you opened the trap, not because it's feeding time, but because it simply wants to. It bursts out of the loft at dawn, circles wide, climbs high, and lands with energy still in its wings. This is not wasted energy. This is joy. And joy is the fuel of champions. The bird that flies only when forced, that lands quickly, that avoids effort. This bird will race out of obligation, not desire. And obligation fades at 400 kilometers. Desire carries you home. Then observe recovery. After a hard race, some birds bounce back in 24 hours. Others take 3 days. Some never quite return to their peak. This is not just about physical fitness. It's about mental resilience. A resilient bird processes hardship and moves forward. A fragile bird holds on to stress and accumulates damage. Over a season, the resilient bird stays strong. The fragile one breaks. Colin Minderhout, one of the most successful fanciers in the Netherlands, says, "I judge it by its worst race and how it behaves the day after." The day after a disaster tells you everything. Does the bird sulk, withdraw, lose appetite? Or does it eat, preen, and act like nothing happened? The latter is rare, and that rarity is what you breed toward. Now the mistakes. The first is ignoring behavior because of bloodline. You have a bird from a famous line, but it hesitates at the trap. You keep racing it out of hope. Hope is not a strategy. Observation is. I've seen fanciers cling to a name on a pedigree while the bird itself screams, "I don't want this." They race it for 3 seasons hoping it will click. It never does. Because you cannot teach desire. You can only recognize it and respect it when it's absent. The second mistake is rewarding aggression. A bird that bullies others may seem strong, but it creates stress in the loft, weakens the flock, and often fails when alone. True strength is calm, not loud. Aggressive birds dominate the feed trough, the water, the perch. They look like leaders. But put them in a basket with 1,000 other birds, release them 500 kilometers away, and watch them panic. Because aggression in the loft is not confidence, it's insecurity. And insecurity does not fly straight. The truly strong bird doesn't need to fight. It simply exists with quiet authority. Other birds make space for it, not out of fear, but out of respect. And that respect is earned through consistency, calmness, and presence. The third mistake is not giving young birds time to show their character. Some birds mature late. Some need 5 races to find their rhythm. Rush to judge and you may lose a future champion. Young bird racing is seductive. You want to see results now. You want to identify your stars early. But some of the greatest champions in history were late bloomers. Birds that struggled in their first season and dominated in their second. Gerard Koopman once said, "The bird that wins as a young bird often burns out. The bird that learns as a young bird often lasts a decade." Patience is hard, especially when your competitor's young bird is winning and yours is finishing in the middle of the pack. But remember, you're not breeding for one season. You're breeding for generations. And the bird that matures slowly often matures completely. The fourth mistake is failing to record behavior. Memory is unreliable. Write it down. Date, time, trap response, eating pattern, recovery speed. After 10 races, patterns emerge. And patterns reveal champions. I know fanciers who can tell you the exact basketing weight of every bird from 5 years ago, but they can't tell you which bird eats first after a race. Numbers matter, but behavior matters more, because numbers can be manipulated by feeding schedules and supplements. Behavior cannot. At Pigeon Healthy, we support behavioral health with natural care. We use a gentle blend of lavender, lemon balm, and valerian root to calm the nervous system, reduce anxiety, and promote restful sleep without sedation, without chemicals. Lavender soothes the mind. Lemon balm supports nerve function. Valerian root, used for centuries in animal care, helps the body reset after stress. Steep 1 teaspoon of the blend in 1 liter of hot water for 10 minutes. Cool completely. Add to drinking water 24 hours before a race or during recovery week. It's safe for all pigeon breeds and used in lofts where calmness is as valued as speed. This is not about drugging your birds. This is about supporting their natural ability to process stress, recover deeply, and return to baseline faster. A calm bird thinks clearly. A clear-thinking bird navigates accurately, and accurate navigation wins races. Some fanciers ask, "Won't this make my birds slower?" No, anxiety makes birds slower. Panic makes birds deviate. Stress makes birds quit. Calmness makes birds focus. And focus is speed. If you'd like our exact recipe, including ratios, sourcing tips, and usage calendar, comment Bloodline below and I'll send you our free champion selection guide, which includes a behavior checklist, trap response timer, and rain test protocol. Because the bird you choose today isn't just a racer, it's the beginning of your legacy. And that legacy is not built on trophies, but on trust. The trust that when you send your bird into the sky, it will choose again and again to come home. Every champion loft was built on one decision: to believe in behavior over hype, to trust the quiet bird with the steady eye over the flashy bird with the famous father, to value the trap response over the trophy case. And that decision, repeated season after season, bird after bird, becomes a culture. A culture where heart is recognized, consistency is celebrated, and character is the only currency that matters. So the next time you watch your birds circle the loft, don't just see feathers and speed, see heart, see consistency, see the quiet courage that flies not for glory but for home. Watch the bird that lands first and enters last. Watch the bird that eats alone, calmly, with focus. Watch the bird that preens near the water while others fight at the feeder. Watch the bird that flies free laps at dawn, not because it must, but because it can. These are not the birds that make headlines. These are the birds that make champions. And choose not with your ears full of stories, but with your eyes open to truth. Because stories fade, pedigrees age, but behavior is timeless. It is the one metric that never lies, never flatters, never deceives. A bird's behavior in the loft today is the truest predictor of its behavior in the sky tomorrow. And its behavior in the sky determines whether it comes home or becomes a memory. Because in the end, we do not race pigeons to see how fast they fly. We race them to see how deeply they believe in coming back. And it is our duty to choose the ones who believe, not just with their wings but with their whole being, the ones who hit the roof and disappear into the trap without hesitation, the ones who eat calmly after chaos, the ones who return, race after race, rain or shine, early or late, but always, always return. These are your champions, not because they are perfect, but because they are certain. And in a sport defined by distance, wind, and 1,000 ways to get lost, certainty is everything. So honor the bird that comes home, not just the bird that comes home first, because the bird that comes home every time, no matter what, is the bird that builds your future. And that future starts not with a trophy, but with a choice. The choice to see what matters, the choice to trust what's true, the choice to build not on bloodlines alone, but on the one thing that bloodlines cannot give, the unshakable will to return. That is behavior, that is heart, that is the spirit of a champion. And it is waiting for you to recognize it.